Welcome back to the library, brothers and sisters. It's Ash. The world outside has been loud lately. But in here, among ancient scrolls and heavy stone, none of that matters. Tonight, you have taken the black. Your only worries are keeping the draft from stealing your candle and finding the record of the 600th Lord Commander before Maester wakes. The wall stands above us, holding back the wind. You're safe here. So pull your furs tighter, warm your hands over the brazier, and let your eyes drift shut. Let's unroll the scroll. The vigil of the steward. You are rubbing your hands together, trying to coax a little more warmth into your stiff fingers before you pick up the quill again. It is always cold in the library of Castle Black. A deep, permeating chill that seems to seep out of the books themselves. But it is a dry cold. It is better than the damp wind that whips across the courtyard outside. The chill here is ancient, a cold that has settled into the very atoms of the stone and timber over 8,000 years of constant frost. It is a cold you have learned to live with, a perpetual reminder of your location at the edge of the known world. Your black crow's coat, heavy with padded leather and thick wool, offers a substantial layer of protection, but the fine bones of your fingers still crave the heat of the fire. You can hear that wind now. It howls like a distant wolf battering against the northern face of the wall 1,000 feet above you. But down here, in the subterranean vaults beneath the rookery, the sound is muffled. It sounds far away, like a bad dream you've already woken up from. This section of the castle, the Maester's Tower, is one of the oldest structures, built of rough-hewn timber and grey stone, descending deep into the earth for protection and warmth. It is a vital artery of Castle Black, housing the most precious resource of the Night's Watch, knowledge. In the corner, Maester lets out a soft, rattling snore. He is asleep in his weirwood chair, a heavy wool blanket tucked up to his chin. Seeing him rest makes you feel a sudden wave of calm. If the oldest man in Westeros, a man who once refused a crown to take the black, can sleep soundly with the others stirring in the woods beyond the wall, surely you can relax enough to finish your inventory. His presence, even asleep, is a quiet, steady reminder of the 8,000 years of duty that this watch represents, a living chronicle of history and quiet dedication to the vows. His breathing is a slow, steady rhythm, a gentle hiss and a soft rattle that anchors the silence of the room. You look down at the desk in front of you. The wood is dark, stained with ink spots from 1,000 stewards who sat here before you. Your task tonight is simple, monotonous, and strangely satisfying. You are recataloguing the chronicles of the Age of Heroes. The scroll in front of you is brittle, the vellum yellow to the colour of old cream. It smells of dust and time, a potent mixture of age, vellum, and the faint, cold scent of the stone vault. It is the work of a steward, maintaining the daily life and the historical records of the watch, the very task that keeps this fortress running. Your duties, though unglamorous, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the horses, and managing the records, are the unyielding foundation of the Night's Watch, the logistical bedrock upon which the rangers and builders depend. You dip your quill into the inkpot. Scritch, scratch. You carefully note the condition of the scroll in your ledger. Volume 4, The Kings of Winter. Binding loose, ink fading on page 33s. This particular volume chronicles the ancient Starks, the founders of this very wall, Bran the Builder among them, men said to have been aided by giants in hauling the first ice blocks. The legendary founder, Bran the Builder, is a constant, spectral presence here. Every deep, groaning sound from the ice is a reminder of the colossal scale of his ancient work, a feat of both engineering and ancient magic. This work of cataloguing, of imposing order onto the chaos of history, is the quiet, necessary magic of the steward. You are absolutely not thinking about the rumours of wildlings massing in the Frostfangs. You aren't thinking about the ranging party that hasn't returned. You are only thinking about the ink. It's thick tonight, almost freezing in the pot. You have to move it closer to the candle flame to keep it flowing. The ink is made from gall nuts and soot, thick and black, perfectly suited for the stark records of the Night's Watch. The candle tallow is dripping slowly onto the stone desk, casting dancing shadows across the rows of books that line the walls, stacks of heavy leather-bound chronicles, and ledgers detailing the long, slow, and often grim history of the watch. The shadows move with the same slow, languid rhythm as the Maester's breathing. You reach for your mug of mulled wine. It's gone lukewarm, but the spices, cloves, cinnamon, and a hint of orange peel still rise in the steam. You take a sip. The taste is heavy and sweet, coating your throat and settling warm in your stomach. It's a small luxury, one that Samuel Tarley smuggled out of the kitchens for you earlier. You are grateful it is not the usual thin beer or the heavy, chewy black bread that is the standard fare for a crow, a diet mostly consisting of salt pork, onions, and thin, unsatisfying stew. The sweetness is a momentary, precious link to the warmer world you left behind. Tap, tap, tap. Snow is beginning to pile up against the small slit window near the ceiling. The light in the room is dim, cast only by the 3 tallow candles on your desk and the dying embers in the hearth. The shadows stretch long and dance across the rows of books. There is a loose page on the floor. You sigh, pushing your chair back. The stone floor scrapes loudly, too loud, and you freeze, looking over at Eamon. He shifts, murmuring something about egg, a pet name he sometimes uses in his deep sleep, perhaps for a lost brother or a forgotten life, but he doesn't wake. His deep, quiet sleep is a profound contrast to the waking, anxious world. You bend down to retrieve the page. The paper feels rough under your fingertips, thick and textured, unlike the smooth, bleached paper from the south. This was made here. It feels real. It feels permanent. It's an inventory sheet for the King's Tower, detailing the condition of the winch and the massive chains used to raise the cage to the top of the 1,000-foot ice structure. The King's Tower is the largest tower in Castle Black, the one that houses the cage and winch that lifts men to the top of the ice. You place the page back into its binding and sit for a moment, just listening. The fire pops. The wind sings a low, mournful note. The quill rests in your hand. There is no rush. The wall has stood for 8,000 years. It will stand for one more night. And for now, your watch is here, in the quiet, in the dark, safe among the words of men long dead. You dip the quill again. Scritch. Scratch. You are tired, but it is a good tired, the kind that comes from honest work and a full belly. You lean your head back against the wood of the chair, watching the smoke from the candle curl up toward the ceiling. Drifting. Drifting. And the cold doesn't bother you anymore. The whispers of the wall. Let the silence of the subterranean vaults of Castle Black embrace you now. You are deep beneath the earth, beneath the King's Tower, protected by layers of stone and rock. The constant cold that defines the north, the perpetual winter climate, is held at bay here, reduced to a dry, comfortable chill. This cold, however, is never truly absent. It is the fundamental state of being here, and you have internalized its quiet permanence. It is in the very dust you breathe, the fibers of your black uniform, and the rigid posture of the older timbers supporting the ceiling. You feel the heavy black wool of your uniform, your crow's coat, pressing against your body. It is thick, padded leather beneath the wool, coarse and comforting. The color is absolute black, symbolic of the life and land you have forsaken. No wife, no children, no titles, no lands, only duty. The feel of it is a quiet vow, a solid, heavy anchor to the present moment, a shield against the past. The texture is rough against your neck, chafing slightly, but its weight is reassuring, a physical manifestation of your commitment to the black. Breathe with the rhythm of the hearth. Inhale the scent of old parchment and the faint, sweet smell of the mulled wine clinging to the air. Exhale the tensions of your day, the nagging voices of the world outside the 7 kingdoms. Let the simple act of breathing ground you in this moment, in this safe, deep space. Inhale, duty. Exhale, concern. Inhale, stone. Exhale, worry. You shift slightly in your chair. The wood groans a little beneath you, a low, drawn-out sound. It It is a familiar noise in the castle, where every timber, every beam, seems to hold the weight of 8 millennia of history, groaning under the strain of time and frost. Castle Black itself is unique among the 19 castles on the wall, built without a southern wall, relying entirely on the towering ice for its primary defense. The very architecture speaks of absolute commitment to the north, a declaration that retreat is impossible. The towers and barracks are primarily simple constructions of timber and rough stone, often insulated with mud and straw, a testament to the harsh necessities of life on the edge of civilization. Listen now for the faint, deep sounds that the wall makes. It is an impossible structure, a sheer face of ancient ice 1,000 feet high, stretching for 100 leagues. It is made not just of water, but of forgotten magic, built to shield the realms of men from the terrible things that walk in the woods beyond. The wall is a living, breathing entity of frozen power. Sometimes the ice keel groans, a sound like a giant stirring in its sleep, a long, low, resonant note that vibrates up through the rock foundations of the castle and into your very bones. These sounds are a constant presence, sometimes whispering, sometimes roaring, shifting with the temperature and the movement of the wind. Tonight, the sound is deep and infrequent, suggesting the frost is settled, but it is always there, a continuous, vast presence just above your head. It is the voice of the wall itself, the oldest and longest continuous sound in Westeros. You are shielded, deep within the heart of Castle Black. You are a crow, a black brother, and this silent vigil in the depths is your watch. The stone is cold against your back, but the knowledge of your safety here, hundreds of feet from the biting wind, provides a deep mental warmth. The Chronicle of Kings. Your work draws you back to the old scroll on the desk. You smooth the brittle vellum carefully, its texture like dried leather beneath your fingers. The vellum is so old it feels fragile, as if a sharp breath might disintegrate the ancient ink. The air movement from the candles is enough to make the edges curl slightly. The light of the candle catches the faded illustrations, crude drawings of armored men with long beards and crowned wolves. The Kings of Winter Chronicle details the harsh foundational days of the North, the ancient battles fought before the Watch was even fully formed. These records speak of the long night, the darkness that lasted a generation, and the terror that necessitated the building of the wall. They are not merely histories, they are foundational myths, reminders of the original purpose of your order. The ink, made of gall nuts and soot, seems to absorb the darkness of the history it records. This section catalogues the early Lord Commanders. Most of their names are lost even to the longest records. Their lineage faded to dust, leaving only a sequence number. You are looking for the record of the 600th Lord Commander, a man whose tenure, according to legend, was remarkably short due to a dispute over a shipment of spiced bacon grease intended for the Maester's table. Scritch, scratch. You note the inventory number. LC 600. Tenure, 11 days. Disputed provisions. The vast records of the Watch hold everything from the sublime to the ridiculous, from strategic troop movements to forgotten kitchen squabbles. The longevity of the Watch means that history here is measured not in lifetimes, but in the slow, persistent accumulation of mundane detail. The life of LC 600, lost to a bureaucratic squabble over kitchen stores, is a perfect illustration of the blend of heroism and utter tedium that defines duty at the wall. The Maester's library contains a wealth of knowledge not found anywhere else in the world. Records of forgotten sciences, ancient spells, and the true, unvarnished history of the founding families. It is a quiet testament to the enduring scholarly work performed by the Maesters, even at the edge of oblivion. You trace the script of the ancient vellum. It is written in a spidery, precise hand, the script itself a relic of a time when the Night's Watch was stronger, better funded, and housed hundreds more men in the now ruined castles along the wall. The vellum itself would have been a costly import, a sign of the wall's former importance. You contemplate Bran the Builder, the legendary founder. The records here speak of his giants and the powerful, forgotten magic he wove into the ice itself. This magic is what prevents the dead from crossing the wall, and it is why the ice groans and shifts with a life of its own. It is a magic far beyond the simple spells and hexes taught in the south, a primal, elemental binding of frost and stone. The act of turning the page is an act of historical mindfulness. The page crackles faintly, a dry, hushed sound, and you handle it with the meticulous care of a steward protecting a priceless, irreplaceable artifact. Each movement is slow, precise, and gentle, preventing any further decay of the ancient ink, the legacy of the black. The cold on the back of your neck reminds you of the immense sacrifice contained within the simple black uniform you wear. Taking the black means forsaking not just your past, but your future. No wife, no children, no titles. Your world shrank to the size of this castle, and your future to the continuation of your watch. This is the legacy of the black. You recall the words of the vow, sometimes whispered in the barracks, sometimes shouted into the wind on the wall, but always felt deeply in the heart. Night gathers, and now my watch begins. It shall not end until my death. The words are a powerful anchor, a profound commitment that supersedes all other loyalties, all other identities. Breathe in the magnitude of that sacrifice. Let it fill the spaces where real-world anxiety used to reside. You have given up everything, and in return, you have gained simplicity, the clarity of a single defined duty. The world is complex, but the wall is simple. Imagine the contrast. The warm, bustling cities of the south, King's Landing, with its noise and smells, its gold and silks. The sun on your skin, the taste of fresh summer fruits, the sound of a woman's laughter. Now compare that to the harsh, wind-bitten reality outside the library window. The endless white, the skeletal trees of the haunted forest, the grinding sound of the ice. This library, this small, deep space, is the warmest place in your world now, heated by the small, struggling fire in the hearth and the proximity of the braziers that line the main hallway. The fire crackles with the effort of resisting the cold, a small, stubborn sound of endurance. The scent of wood smoke is thick and comforting. It is the scent of survival, the constant reminder of the fight against the eternal frost. You are a steward, and your sacrifice is found in the meticulous care of these mundane details. The rangers bear the cold of the field, the builders the chill of the ice, but the stewards bear the cold of the paperwork, the inventory, the endless struggle to manage provisions for a castle that often starves in silence. You glance at the Maester, the perfect embodiment of this legacy. Aemon Targaryen, born of fire and light, yet living out his final years in a realm of ice and shadow. He forswore the Iron Throne, the glory of his house, for the quiet, solitary duty of serving the realm with quill and candle. His life is the greatest proof of the power of the vow. Let the knowledge of your duty settle over you, heavy and protective. You are not running from the world. You are standing against the darkness for it. And in this small, deep room, your watch is calm. Shh, shh, shh. The burden of Aemon. The soft, rattling snore of Maester Aemon is the metronome of your vigil. It is a continuous, deep sound, carrying the deep history of the watch in its rhythm. His sleep is the sleep of a man who has witnessed centuries of chaos and change, who has known the highest heights of power and the deepest obscurity of duty. You marvel at the quiet irony of his position. A Targaryen, a name synonymous with fire and conquest, asleep in a weirwood chair, the wood sacred to the first men and the ancient north. The contrast is immense. The dragon in the land of the ice. His blanket is coarse wool, black, naturally, but soft enough from long use. It is tucked meticulously up to his chin, his old wizened face barely visible above the folds. His eyelids are thin and wrinkled, concealing the sightless eyes that have not seen the sun in decades. His blindness is a physical manifestation of his forsaking the world. He no longer needs to see the sun or the faces of men, only the duty that remains in his heart. You listen to the subtle shifts in his breathing, a shallow intake, a brief pause, and then the slow, drawn-out hiss of the exhale. It is an old man's breath, yet steady, persistent. It reminds you of the sound of the wind, softened by the thickness of the wall. When he stirs, as he did before, murmuring, "Egg," you wonder which memory haunts him. Was it a childhood pet? A long-lost love? Or perhaps an attempt to counsel a king lost to darkness? The simple, nonsensical word is a fleeting window into a lifetime of secrets he has carried across the continent and buried beneath the ice. His chair, made of weirwood, is a small, sacred anchor in this room. The wood is pale, almost white, with subtle veins of red that resemble dried blood. It is cold to the touch, but its presence radiates an ancient, natural energy, a sense of deep-rooted permanence. It is a symbol of the north, a stark contrast to the opulence of the south. Aemon is not just a Maester. He is the memory of the Watch. He knows the lineage of every Lord Commander back to the first. He knows the obscure records of the Watch's most shameful moments and its forgotten glories. His presence here validates your quiet, monotonous work, transforming it from tedious inventory into the preservation of history. You feel a profound protective urge towards the old man. Your duty as a steward includes the personal care of the Maester, ensuring his food is palatable, his wine is spiced, and his room is as warm as the meager resources of Castle Black allow. This simple personal duty is the core of your service, a direct, immediate, and uncomplicated commitment to another human being. You adjust the low brazier slightly, using a small iron poker to shift the glowing coals. The clink of the metal is soft, but distinct, and you freeze again, listening for any sign of Aemon stirring. He remains asleep, his breathing steady. The brazier glows a deep, comforting orange. The heat it radiates is localized, insufficient for the entire room, but warm enough to keep the ink flowing and to ease the stiffness in your own shoulders. It is the heart of warmth in this cold space. Let your gaze settle on the quiet figure of Aemon. His peace is your peace. His deep, steady sleep is the proof that, for now, the realm is safe. The oldest eyes in Westeros are closed, and the watch is yours. The towers and tunnels. Let us now explore the architecture of your temporary home, Castle Black. It is a fortress that is largely defined by what it lacks. No walls on the south, no deep vaults of gold, no grand septs, only the bare necessities for survival and duty. You recall the long, twisting passage you took to reach this library, deep beneath the Maester's tower. These tunnels are carved into the rock and in some places directly into the ice of the wall itself. The walls are rough, uneven grey stone, perpetually damp in places, and lined with simple, flickering rushlights that cast unstable, anxious shadows. The air in the tunnels always carries a faint, sharp scent of mildew, stone dust, and frozen water. Imagine now the different towers. First, the steward, King's Tower, the most prominent structure and the heart of your work. It is the tower of the winch, the machine that hauls the small wooden cage up the side of the wall. The sound of the winch, when in use, is a grinding, metallic mash screech and the deep thump of the heavy chain settling. Tonight, it is silent, a heavy, dark presence looming over the courtyard. The tower is mostly timber and stone, cold and drafty, but its height speaks of purpose. It faces the vast, featureless expanse of the gift, the small territory granted to the watch by the King of the North long ago. Then there are the tiki, barracks. Long, low timber buildings where the men sleep. They are cold, crowded, and often smell of unwashed bodies, stale beer, and the pervasive scent of bacon grease. The silence of the barracks at this hour, deep into the night, is a heavy, collective stillness, the sound of 100 weary men finally succumbing to exhaustion. You move your mind's eye to the kitchens. A large, smoky, perpetually busy space. The smell is a thick blend of salt pork, frying onions, and the sour tang of brewing small beer. The heat here is immense, localized, and the noise is a constant low roar of clanging pots and the grumbling voices of the cooks and stewards. The scent of wood smoke is heaviest here, clinging to the rafters and the black uniformed men who work within. Now, look up towards the rookery, just above you. This is where the Maester keeps his ravens. The birds are asleep now, a soft, nervous flutter of wings and an occasional caw swallowed by the thick stone ceiling. Their presence is the watch's only link to the outside world, carrying messages of supplies, news, and sometimes grim tidings of the rangers. The most unique structures, however, are the crackling, ice tunnels themselves. These are not built of stone, but are carved directly into the massive ancient ice. The walls of these tunnels are perpetually white and translucent, glowing faintly with the diffused cold light, and they are always dripping water, even in the deepest freeze. A slow, continuous drip, drip, drip that echoes strangely. The cold in these tunnels is overwhelming, a profound, immediate chill that bites through even the thickest furs. But the sight of the ice, thousands of feet deep, is an awe-inspiring, chilling testament to the wall's durability. You breathe into the safety of your deep, stone-lined room, contrasting the dry warmth here with the damp, crushing cold of the ice tunnels. You are shielded by the earth, resting in the most secure corner of an insecure world. The menu of the Crow. Let the memory of your mulled wine anchor you to a moment of sensory luxury, a brief escape from the grinding tedium of the watch's standard fare. The wine, now lukewarm, still carries the ghost of the spices, cloves, cinnamon, and orange peel. The life of a crow is defined by scarcity, and nowhere is this more evident than in the kitchen. Your mind involuntarily conjures the smells and textures of the daily diet, a necessary reminder of the austerity of your life. First, the sub-black bread. It is heavy, coarse, and often chewy. Made from rye or a mix of hard grains, it is often served with a thin spread of for bacon grease, the main source of fat and flavor for most men. The smell of this bread is a constant presence in the dining hall, yeasty, earthy, and dense. Then, the sour, salt meat. Mostly salt pork or bacon, cured heavily to last through the perpetual cold. It is tough, salty, and requires immense chewing, but it is reliable protein. The sharp, acrid scent of salt is always present in the kitchen air. The thin stew is the daily staple, a watery concoction of boiled vegetables, whatever is available, often just onions and carrots, and small scraps of whatever meat is too old for the salt curing. It is generally served lukewarm and offers little comfort, but it fills the belly, which is all that is required. The smell of the stew is bland, pervasive, and instantly recognizable as the scent of Castle Black survival. Your small luxury tonight, this mulled wine, is an anomaly. The spices themselves would have been a costly import from the south, smuggled or acquired through a rare, profitable trade. This tiny act of luxury, the sweetness on your tongue, is a temporary bridge back to a world of flavor, color, and warmth that you have forsaken. You sip the last of the wine, letting the sweetness coat your tongue, chasing the ghost of the spice. The warmth in your stomach is a comforting, localized heat. The steward's role in procuring and managing the scarcity is immense. You, along with others, are responsible for the inventories, ensuring that every barrel of salt meat, every bushel of onions is accounted for. The threat of starvation is a constant companion at the wall, and the steward's ledger is the ultimate line of defense. Imagine the sound of the dining hall at mealtime, the clatter of wooden bowls and pewter spoons, the thump of bread loaves hitting the table, and the low collective mutter of hundreds of hungry, weary men. The noise is not one of revelry, but of necessity, a quick, efficient process of consumption before returning to duty. Contrast that harsh, noisy reality with the quiet, luxurious comfort of your single cup of spiced wine. The difference is profound, a tiny act of self-care that recharges your spirit for the long work ahead. The cup is empty now. You set it down gently on the desk, the soft char-clink-clim of the pottery against the wood, barely audible above the Maester, soft snoring. The lingering scent of cinnamon is your reward, the horn and the ranks. The silence of the library is broken only by the sounds of the castle's deep foundations. Yet just beyond the stone walls lie the constant possibility of the most shattering noise of all, the sound of the horn of the watch. The horn is ancient, a long, deep, resonant instrument made from the horn of a great beast, capable of carrying its sound for miles across the freezing woods and the flat expanse of the gift. It is the language of the wall. You recall the meaning of its signals, a vital piece of knowledge that governs the sudden, chaotic shifts of life at Castle Black. One blast. The simplest signal. Rangers returning. It means men are coming home, often weary, often empty-handed, but alive. It is the sound of brief relief, the call for stewards to prepare the fires and the food. Two blasts. A more urgent signal. Wildlings approaching. It means the enemy, the lawless men and women who dwell beyond the civilized world, are at the wall. This calls the crows to arms, sending rangers and fighting men scrambling for their posts, preparing to defend the realm. 3 blasts. The terrifying signal. The others. This signal has not been sounded for thousands of years since the long night. It is the sound of true primordial terror, the call to face the ultimate icy darkness that the wall was built to contain. The silence of the horn tonight is a deep comfort, a vast, reassuring void of non-danger. Now, consider the other ranks who depend on your quiet stewardship. The Shah Rangers are the eyes and ears of the watch. They are the men who travel beyond the wall into the haunted forest, and the Frostfangs, scouting for wildlings and threats. Their life is one of constant, grinding cold, extreme hardship and isolation. Their black furs and leathers are often cracked and frozen, their faces weathered and grim. Your work ensures they have salt meat to carry and clean beds to return to. The sub-builders are the maintenance crews. They climb the wall, repair the ice, fill the cracks with fresh water to freeze, and chip away at the constant accumulations of frost and snow. Their work is purely physical, a desperate, endless fight against entropy. They spend their days 1,000 feet in the air, enduring the full, unmitigated force of the Arctic wind. Your work ensures they have sound timber for scaffolding, and that the winch is properly maintained. You, as a fine steward, are the silent core. Your duty is less dramatic, less heroic, but utterly essential. You manage the logistics, the medical supplies, the food stores, and the historical records. You are the glue that holds the disparate, dwindling ranks of the Night's Watch together. Your position in the library is a temporary haven, a refuge of quiet thought and organized knowledge. You are the mind of the castle, sorting and classifying the chaos of 8,000 years. The sound of the wind, softened by the thick walls, reminds you of the silence of the horn. The quiet of the Maester's tower is a gift earned by the vigilance of the men in all three ranks. Let the quiet rhythm of the Maester's snoring, the softest sound in the room, stand in for the silence of the horn. Hush, 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 cataloguing the lost. Your gaze returns to the ledger and the old vellum scroll detailing the Lord Commanders. This is the rhythmic core of your task, the hypnotic, repetitive action that stills the anxious mind. Dip the quill, move it to the ledger. Scritch, scratch, record the condition, turn the scroll. The monotony is the magic. The predictable pattern of movement and sound is an antidote to the sudden, brutal chaos that defines life outside the walls. You are moving through the long, slow history of the Watch, cataloguing the forgotten men who held the highest office. Most of these Lord Commanders left no mark beyond their number. LC 312, LC 488, LC 555. Numbers on a page, names lost to memory, their brief reigns swallowed by the ice. This deliberate, monotonous work requires precision. The ledger must be legible, the ink must not smudge, and the vellum must be handled with utmost care. The slight resistance of the thick ink on the rough paper creates a satisfying soft scratching sound. Scratch, scritch, scratch. You come to another note of interest, a small faded notation in the margin next to LC 709. The note reads, "Dismissed for excessive consumption of lamp oil, mistaken for brandy." Another trivial human failing recorded for eternity. The weight of history is often carried on the backs of such small, absurd details. The comedy of errors is as much a part of the Night's Watch as the heroic defense. You take a moment to flex your hand, easing the stiffness of your fingers. The cold is perpetual, an unyielding adversary. You hold your hand briefly over the brazier, letting the low, radiating heat soak into your skin. A small, silent act of self-care. You find the entry you were specifically looking for, the one your preliminary notes flagged, LC 600. The source scroll is brittle, and you handle it with the care you would give a newborn child. LC 600. Tenure 11 days. Disputed provisions. The brevity of his command is astonishing. 11 days, the time it takes to walk halfway to the nearest ruin, and his entire legacy is a dispute over spiced bacon grease. You imagine the man, perhaps a proud Southron lord, unused to the scarcity of the wall, driven to ruin by a craving for flavour. His reign ended not by wildlings, but by the hunger for a single, small comfort. Your own cravings are satisfied tonight by the lukewarm wine, a temporary, quiet victory over the monotony. You are smarter than LC600. You know to savor the small comforts in silence. The repetitive motion of cataloguing, the steady sound of the quill, is pulling your focus deeper into the quiet core of the room. The inventory is a prayer against chaos, a silent declaration that order still exists, even at the edge of the world. Let the rhythmic scratching of the quill become your lullaby. Let the endless fading names of the past become your steady countdown to sleep. Scritch, scratch, scritch, scratch. You are tired. You are safe. The fire work is done for now. The scent of ages. The darkness of the vault is not just a void of light. It is a rich sensory experience, anchored by the subtle, continuous presence of scent. Close your eyes for a moment, and let the unique aromas of this place settle your mind. First and foremost is the cairn, scent of old parchment and vellum. It is dry, dusty, and faintly sweet, a mixture of dried animal hides and the ancient chemicals used to prepare the writing surface. When you lean close to the scroll, the scent is strongest, the deep, earthy smell of history itself. This is the defining aroma of the Maester's tower, the smell of time preserved. Next, the sharp, metallic scent of frozen ink. It is not the smell of fresh ink, but of ink pots that have stood for centuries in the deep cold. The gall nuts and soot settling into a thick, concentrated aroma that is slightly acrid and profoundly black. When you dip your quill, you catch the brief, potent sharpness of it. Underneath these two dominant scents lies the deep, mineral scent of dry stone and rock. It is an almost tasteless cold scent, the smell of the earth itself, the deep, non-organic core of the mountain that houses the castle. It is the scent of permanence, of something that has not changed in millennia. The most comforting aroma, however, is the raw scent of fire smoke and tallow. The fire in the hearth is small, but it battles the cold valiantly, sending thin wisps of wood smoke into the room. This blends with the heavy, waxy smell of the burning tallow candles, the essential fat rendered to provide light. The smoke is the scent of humanity, of warmth, and of the constant struggle against the cold. Finally, the anomaly, the cairns, scent of spices, clinging faintly to your empty mug, cinnamon, clove, and orange. This is the temporary, fleeting scent of the south, a sensory memory of a life forsaken. It is a reminder of comfort, but its fading presence reinforces the reality of the north. Let these scents form a tapestry of calm around you. Each aroma is an anchor, a distinct layer of reality in this deep, quiet vault. The dry smell of the scrolls pulls the chaos out of your mind. The warmth of the tallow smoke calms the anxiety in your chest. You breathe deeply, intentionally inhaling the dry, cold air, filling your lungs with the scent of this ancient history. The act of breathing is an act of acceptance. You belong here. You are safe here. Inhale the scent of stone and vellum. Exhale the scent of worry and noise. The scents are quiet, persistent, and constant. They are the silent language of the library, whispering that your watch is secure. The final drifting. The inventory is complete. The scroll is carefully rolled and placed back into its protective slot on the shelf. The ledger is closed. The final entry legible and precise. You have imposed order on a small corner of chaos, and the satisfaction is immense, quiet, and profound. You lean back in your chair, the wood groaning a final low note of acceptance. Your eyelids are heavy, your body relaxed by the monotonous labor and the deep, persistent warmth of the small hearth. Focus now on the final visual anchor, the fast, flickering candle flame. The flame is small, a teardrop of warm yellow light fighting the vast, overwhelming darkness of the vault. It moves constantly, a minute, rhythmic dance in the cold, still air. Watch the edges of the flame, the bright, white-hot core, and the soft, orange halo that surrounds it, casting the Maester's tower in a constant, low, protective glow. As the flame dances, so do the shadows. They stretch and contract, making the stacks of forgotten books seem to shift and sway. They are abstract, harmless shapes, the ghosts of light and darkness playing their ancient game. Now, look at the tried smoke. The thin grey wisp rising from the candle wick, climbing slowly, twisting and turning as it catches the slightest current of cold air. It moves with infinite leisure, an image of release and freedom. Let your thoughts follow that smoke. Imagine every lingering thought, every unresolved anxiety, every memory of noise and obligation, attaching itself to that wisp of smoke. See it rise, slowly, gently, until it disappears into the dark, unseen ceiling above. Drifting, drifting, drifting. Your mind is clearing, becoming as quiet and organized as the ledger now resting on the desk. You are sinking deeper into the soft, comforting cold of your chair. The only sound is the deep, steady snoring of the Maester, a profound rhythm of peace and rest. You are safe from the wind, safe from the wildlings, and safe from the chaotic demands of the south. Your watch is here, in the quiet, in the dark, and it is almost over. Let your eyes drift shut. Feel the warmth of the black wool around your body. Hear the final, gentle pop of the wood in the hearth. You are sinking now, deep into the safe, still core of Castle Black. You are a small, warm presence surrounded by vast, cold permanence. Drift, drift, drift. The cold doesn't bother you anymore. The quiet assurance. The wall stands tall, 1,000 feet of ancient ice and magic, and you are deep within its shadow, resting. Your watch is complete, and the final quiet assurance settles over you now, wrapping you in the profound, unwavering peace of the night's watch. The Maester's breathing continues, a soft, steady rhythm, undisturbed. His sleep is a testament to the endurance of the human spirit against the harsh, unyielding realities of the North. He is the link to the vast history, the constant proof that duty is not a burden, but a final, clarifying purpose. You are safe from the sounds of the courtyard, the stamping of the horses, the harsh calls of the guards, the clatter of the winch. All these noises are far away, muffled by the deep stone walls and the thick earth. You are in a soundproof sanctuary, a haven carved from the rock itself. Feel the heavy, settled weight of the stone around you. The floor beneath your feet is rock. The walls beside you are rock. The ceiling above you is supported by ancient timber and massive, unmoving stone. This physical permanence is absolute. Nothing here can shift, nothing can fall, and nothing can penetrate. The wind continues its deep, low song against the outer face of the wall, but here, it is merely a distant, gentle sigh, the sound of the world's breath moving far above you. It is a lullaby of vastness, reminding you of the scale of your world and the insignificance of your worries. Your black uniform, once a sign of sacrifice, is now a symbol of acceptance. You have found your place, your duty, and your final home. The chaotic, noisy world of the South is gone, replaced by the simple, enduring quiet of the North. The Maester is asleep. The scrolls are catalogued. The fire is dying down to a bed of warm, comforting embers. You are sinking deeper now, the final vestiges of wakefulness melting away into the deep, profound rest you have earned. You are not a solitary sentinel, but one of a long line of brothers who have found their peace in this deep, cold silence. Let the cold comfort you. Let the darkness shield you. Let the silence cradle you. You are safe. Your watch is ended. Sleep now, brother. Sleep deep. If the stillness of Castle Black has settled your spirit, please remember to join our watch by clicking the like button. And if you seek the comfort of the North on future nights, consider subscribing to Drifting Scrolls. May your slumber be deep and your watch be brief.